Welcome to the business edition of PM Express. It has caused a lot of havoc to many economies out there, and it's still actually continuing to wreck a lot of countries around the world. The World Bank, for instance, is forecasting that developing countries or countries in the sub-Saharan region, including Ghana, will go into recession. In this country, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has also forecasted that we are likely to record a 1.5% growth for this year. This will be our worst in 37 years. Government is also planning to spend about 4.5 billion Ghana cedis in terms of total cost, in terms of a stimulus package for the country. But is the economy that strong to absorb these shocks and these unplanned expenditure? On the business edition of PM Express, you're looking at post this COVID-19. What are we doing to ensure that there is still life and business after this? Are we going to go down? Are we spending like there is no tomorrow? Or we are doing things to ensure that indeed there will be life? Businesses will survive this challenge and will still be in operation. I'll be talking to an economist, a finance person, a business person, and an analyst. All these things wrapped up on the business edition of PM Express. My name is George Yafi. We'll go for a short commercial break and we will be right back. Welcome back to the business edition of PM Express. And we are looking at what will be the economy, the business. How will things be like a post-COVID-19 or the coronavirus? Will there be an economy? Will there be businesses? Will those firms out there that are serving you still be in existence? Already, some of them are telling us that, listen, they are going down and they are not going to come back. What about the amount of money the government is also spending to try and resuscitate the economy as well? Would there be cash after the coronavirus, or we might indeed be struggling? I'll be engaging some economists as well, some businesses as well, and also analysts, those who play in this space. Mr. Pierre Dumako is with the CATS International. I'll also be joined by Otin JC. He's a businessman and industrialist, and also David Ofosu-Dorte. He's also an analyst. He's a strategist and a lawyer as well. And Lord Mensah is a financial person and an economist as well. Mr. Dumako, thank you so much for joining us here on the business edition of PM Express.
Thank you very much, George.
And let's first look at the current situation right now. Today, the World Bank releases a report that talked about the fact that developing countries like Ghana, they are going to go into recession. I thought that we would do a 1.5% growth rate. It looks like that might not be the situation. Each and every day passes and things are getting grim and not that good.
Yes, for a start, I don't think we even need the World Bank to tell us that we are going to go into recession.
But the finance minister said we'll do a 1.5 in a worst case scenario.
Yes, things are still at the early stage yet. We don't know how long the virus is going to remain. Every assumption is based on the fact that 3 months the curve will be flattened. Even there are those who also believe that potentially there could be a second wave of the virus. And all these things have not yet even been put into our forecast. But for us, I think that this year is going to be very crucial for not only for Ghana, but every country all over this world, because of the way the world economy is interlink. I mean, they interlock.
Interline and all the rest of
each other. Yes.
But for us, I mean, some are saying that things will be that bad. Already, the city has taken, it's having its own passion from this coronavirus, and these offshore investors who are getting out of our bond. You've seen what has happened to the Ghana city. FDIs are projected to decline substantially. Our earnings from commodities are also not going to do that well as well. So some will say that quite difficult times ahead for us.
Yes, and as I keep on saying, it's not only Ghana that is going through this crisis. Even America is more hit than us. Of course, they have enough shock absorbers to cushion them compared to Ghana. Some countries in Africa, I mean, by next month, they may not be able to pay their recurrent expenditure. And for Ghana, thank God that we have this petroleum revenue that can give us a cushion as we try to find how we can plot our way into the future. So I think Ghana, in the short term, things look bad, but I believe that with all the measures that His Excellency the President is doing, if this projection goes on right for us, I think by August or so, I think that we can see the assembly line humming and then people can go back to work. But at least not everybody.
You talked about the president, and we understand that he will actually be addressing the nation. Is it around 10:30? We're all looking forward to whether the lockdown might be extended or maybe will be lifted and all those things. But let me bring in a finance person and has a bias in economics as well, Dr. Lord Mensah. Thank you, Lord Doc, and for joining us on the business edition of PM Express. You're a finance person, you also play in the economic space as well. Do you think that the worst is yet to come in terms of the economy?
Yes, whatever the case may be, we should expect that this is a health crisis that will be into economic crisis. Now, if you look at the Ghanaian economic structure, it's purely import-driven economy. Now, if the way we are responding to this epidemic will have impact, and at the same time, you know, the epidemic itself will have impact.
Sorry, it looks like we're having a little challenge with our line, so we'll get back to Dr. Lord Mensah. He's a financial consultant and also an economist as well. And Mr. Adomako, we're talking about the fact that things are going to be quite interesting for us going forward. You appear to be an optimist. You believe that, listen, we'll be getting out of this challenge very soon.
I'm very optimistic about the future, but it doesn't mean that as a country we shouldn't do what is right. This is the time that we need to put our thinking caps on and trying to come up with policies and programs that will help us to be able to scale these challenges. Let me tell you, after the post-World War II, after the World War II, countries in Europe emerged better than before. So this is the time that we can also use it out there.
I get from you that is what you believe that will happen in for a country like Ghana.
Yes, I think now this crisis is even causing us to start to look within. Things that initially would have imported them from China, now we are producing them here. So with the little push, the Ghanaian companies and businesses will be able to produce and even export to other markets. Thank God that in 4 months' time, the AFCFTA trading starts, which I doubt will be able to start in July 1st. But I still believe...
Is it because of Corona?
Because of the Corona.
Or even without the Corona, the people were
think...
less optimistic about things starting in July?
No, I was very optimistic until Corona came. So I think that Ghanaian businesses, now the president has been supporting, the government has been supporting the pharmaceutical industries to be able to produce, and other sectors that we find them to be the key lifeline to the economy. So once we're able to go over this crisis, that will be the time to do a kind of a soul searching to look at which of our industries that we need to support them so that they will be able to produce goods and services for Ghanaian consumption that will make us very, very resilient even in the midst of global
Mr. Adomako, what would you tell those who would argue that we've had this before? Domestication, growing what we eat, Operation Feed Yourself, and all those things.
You see,
we've had it before. We've been to crisis that we've not seen the country learn in terms of turning around things and looking inward.
But this crisis is quite unusual. This is the only crisis in Ghana beyond military dictatorship that people have been asked. Even during the military junta, people were, the curfew time was 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Now, you have to stay at home for 2 weeks. We don't know what the president is going to tell us.
Whether tonight he will ask for another 2 weeks extension.
Which I still believe, because even South Africa has announced that they're going to...
I was just reading on the wires.
Yes, so I think that we should prepare for possible extension. But I believe that what has gone, there's this song that they say that the Alpha Meni Echimin from Abrabon to Chacha, because of what has gone over Ghanaians this particular year, I don't think that things will be business as usual. Even if you are a captain of an industry, this is the time to sit up and be able to say, look, from henceforth, I'm going to expand my productive capacity, so that we'll be able to produce and even export to other economies.
Let me bring Dr. Lord Mensah in. We are back with our Skype line. Sorry for that earlier challenge. The doc, if you can hear me, I was asking you whether the worst is yet to come or we've already absorbed the shocks.
Oh, yes, George, I would say we've not absorbed, the shocks yet. This is an epidemic which, we have to look at the impact on the economy in two ways. One of them is how, the epidemic itself will have impact. That is how it will maim the agents of the economy, the individuals who are making up the economy, and individuals who are making up the businesses. And at the same time, we also have to look at how the economies are going to respond to these diseases. So the cost of the economy comes in two folds, okay? Now, in the Ghanaian economy, the numbers are quite, encouraging compared to other parts of the world as the numbers are being churned out. So, but then in our case, I'm looking at it to be the impact coming from the way to this, now, the manner in which we are responding, one of them is, the non-pharmaceutical approach. Down, and you should understand that there's no economic, thrive when individual ceases to move or businesses ceases to operate, and of course, it has to rely on individuals. So, if you look at, an economy that is supposed to thrive, and in the end, agents are not able to move to go to their workplaces, and even going to their workplaces without fear and death, okay, then you know that economy will grow. Now, as we sit now, aggregate demand has completely gone down, i.e., if it is petroleum that we are importing, the demand has gone down completely because, I can give myself as an example. For the past 3 weeks, I've not moved. The 300, petrol that I normally fill my tank with, that is supposed to move me from my house to Legon for, 5 days, okay? Now, for 3 weeks, I'm still holding on to this 300. So this is a signal, a clear signal that individual aggregate demand has gone down, and in the end, it's going to affect the economy one way or the other. So for me, we are yet to experience the hit, and I will not run away from that because of the way and manner we are responding, and we have no choice than to respond in that manner because
and Doc, and that is where I'll be coming.
We don't want this.
And Doc, that's where I'll be coming in because we haven't challenged our line so that we try and wrap up. But are these stimulus packages or are the economic policy approach being well targeted that we will seal this problem and there will be life or there will be an economy post COVID-19 or post the coronavirus?
Well, yes. You see, the Ghanaian economy is not isolated. Whilst other economies are getting energized and getting, vibrant, obviously it will have a way of, building up into the Ghanaian economy. Now, if you look at an economy that is well, structured in a form of import, structure, because our economy is skewed towards import. So if where we are importing from, and remember, once our ports and then, our, harbors get active, goods come into the country, and out of the movement of goods and services, we are able to generate, revenue from it. Because the goods that will hit the port is the same goods that will come into the country, and then in the process of moving it from one point to the other, we are able to generate, revenue from it. So once other economies get energized, it has a way of feeding into our economy. On the other hand, in-house, the policy of getting an approval, the finance minister getting an approval from the parliament of about 1.2 billion, for which 600 million out of it is going to be pumped into SMEs and all those to have access to soft loans, and they are all manner of what, energizing or revitalizing the economy in a direction where I think the post-COVID we'll see an economy that will have its feet again. So for me, we are doing the right thing. We've come to realize that the informal sector is important. And again, you could also see that, interest rate has been reduced. And the well-structured companies that can have, access to funding, we heard of the Ghana Association of Bankers reducing interest rate by 2% for existing loans, and then for, loans that are yet to be contracted as we speak now. You could see clearly that these are all packages that are in a way to re-energize the economy. So those who have access to the banking corridors will have money through reduction in interest rate, and those who are at the informal sector will have, a soft form of loan to start their business again, so that people can move here and there for the economy to rebuild itself. So like I said, the way a manner will respond to this pandemic, it will determine how the economy picks up again. The disease itself will not have much impact on the economy. Because I foresee very few people contracting this disease before we get out of it. But then the response is what is going to have impact on the economy. And I believe we are doing the right thing, looking at the measures that are being put in place.
Doc, finally, in 30 seconds or in a minute, and I'm going to ask every guest on this program this, in terms of your own projections and looking into the crystal ball, what number of years are you looking at for us to quickly get back on track in terms of the economy? Some are projecting 3 years, some are talking about 2 years. For you, what number of months, years would it take to get back into shape for this economy?
Well, if you look at the Ghanaian economy, before even this pandemic, we were having liquidity problems here and there. But I think with what is happening now, we've found a way to ensure that at least the economy, gets that liquidity that we need, so that funds can easily move. Because all the measures that are being put in place are measures that will ensure that money goes to the people through the productive sectors here and there. So if you ask me, I don't think it would take that long, because this is a global menace. And because it's a global thing, we're going to have a kind of packages from these our, Bretton Woods institutions and all those. So economies globally are going to be revitalized one way or the other, and definitely it feed into the Ghanaian economy. I don't think this will last more than 6 months.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Lord Mensah. I see you're an optimist, and thank you for that projection there. We'll see whether indeed it will come to pass or not. Dr. Lord Mensah is a financial consultant. He also plays in the economic space as well, and a finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you so much. 6 months, he's quite an optimist.
Yes, I think I would deviate from his 6 months and be more realistic, at least a minimum of 1 year to be able to undo this damage that has come to the economy.
Are we not giving away too much? Yes, for US, London, Germany, these are strong economies. They have strong buffers. So if they have been putting in place a 1.2 trillion package into the economy, yes, today there's still debate about who is a frontline health officer. There are still debate about somebody saying that I need 10 Ghana cedi, I don't need the food. Everybody's saying that I'm not a homeless person. Are we not giving away too much? And I'm worried about revenue, because the last quarter of each year is when we raise enough revenue to fund the new year for the first 3 months. Are we not giving away too much that we will end up crashing this economy?
I wouldn't say we are giving
because
too
we are
much.
talking about life after
the thing is
COVID-19.
that we have no alternative. If we choose not to take this action, the counterfactual will be very, very severe.
Because not every health person says that I should benefit from all these exemptions given to frontline officers. And to be clear that it's supposed to go to frontline health person.
I think it's possible for government to look at what will be the numbers if you want to give to all healthcare workers.
Do we have the capacity to do that as an economy?
You see, in the short, we may not have the financial muscles to do it, but if it means borrowing to be able to meet, because seriously, somebody was saying that, look,
is that a prudent thing to,
let me
to
tell you
borrow
something.
to do this?
Let me tell you something. Someone said that when there's a crisis, you don't run to the head fund manager, is the cleaner and then the frontline health workers. These are the key people who, if they don't go to work, I mean, the crisis will even escalate more. So for us, if we have to give them more during this 3 months period that we have itemized ourselves, I think that is something that government can do to satisfy our health, our frontline health workers. So that, because look, the US has started asking doctors who want to come and work in the US. They have just relaxed their recruitment. They are one of the visa categories for medical
doctors.
Yes. So if we don't take care of them here, after the crisis has ended, they will all flock to the US, and then we'll still have to go and bring Cuban doctors and pay them more. So I think that whatever we need to do to keep our Ghanaian doctors working, we need to do so. But let me also go by saying that, look, the action that we are taking, it's proportional to the crisis in terms of what government is giving as a bailout. I mean, tomorrow,
there's 1.2, and then there's another 3 billion package that are being put together.
And even this packages is based on the fact that 3 months will be okay. If the virus,
according to your projection,
if the virus goes beyond,
some were saying that it could go beyond 3 months.
3 months, then the minister would have to come back again, like what the UK Chancellor said. Look, even if we have to do more, we'll do more to protect the interests of businesses. Yes, so I think that we need to be realistic. The 6 months is not feasible for us as a country to be able to scale this crisis. I believe that 1 year is, and let me also add that, look, normally we have our financial year ending 31st of January. This was a legacy, 31st of December. This was a legacy bequeathed to us by the colonial masters. When they left here in 1957, they went and changed theirs to 31st of March. So I think that it can be, the best we can also do is that we can change our financial year for it to start 1st of April and then end at 31st of March, so that this year we can still get a 90 days grace period to be able to undo the damages that has been caused by the virus. Do you get it? So that at least the impact on the crisis will not be so huge for us for this particular financial year. So
I asked Dr. Lord Mensah about how we are targeting the policy in terms of the economy, because we are looking at life after this, and if the projections are that in the next 2 months or 3 months it might be over, are the policy measures from government touching the right sectors that after this there will still be an economy?
Yes, so far what we have seen, you see, things are coming in drip feeding, bit by bit. We still don't have the full picture of what the government wants to do.
And they're delaying too much with
I don't think they are delaying, because
by now, I mean, hoteliers, and they are still asking questions about what is their fate.
Yes. You see, things,
isn't that a delay?
Things are changing. What the fact, in this morning at 6 a.m., by 2 p.m., that fact would have been undone by what is happening in the afternoon. Even the nature of the virus. Doctors and the WHO have to update their medical facts, because things are changing.
Procedures, protocols
and all over. So I think that it's better to slow down and get a better picture to be able to act than to do things, be in a hurry and get things wrong and cause an irreparable damage to the economy. So whatever that government is doing should be backed by evidence, not just because we have the money so we should spend the money. No, it should be backed by evidence.
But the concern is about the expenditure should touch the right sectors that will stimulate the economy. That will turn things around.
I mean, there's no debate about that one. I mean,
industries need stimulus package. They are not getting it as such now. Shouldn't that be in the first target, maybe?
Yes, that should be the first target. But I think we are yet to get the full details, the line-by-line item of what. I don't intend to speak for the government, but I believe that that is what any prudent government should be doing. How much is going to your formal sector? Those are the free zone, private sector, business organization, and even those people that we are also not mentioning them is the micro traders. because for
there's talk about some 600 million Ghana cedis for SMEs.
No, you know, when you talk about SME, when someone says porridge or someone says, they call it at Kantamanto, whatever, those people may not be able to access because they don't have any form of business registration. And most of these people, because of the crisis, they would have blown out all their capital. Some of them may even be running on microfinance loan, and which is even higher than the bank, the interest rate that the banks are giving. And these people are the most vulnerable because they cannot even go to the high street banks to go and borrow. But then the other businesses, other good SMEs can borrow on the strength of their balance sheet. So I think that we also need to look at the market women, those people.
And I'll be coming back to you to ask you how should they be targeted to ensure that we'll get the desired expectation. If you've just joined us, this is the business edition of PM Express. We're looking at the economy and business live after the COVID-19. These two things survive. That is the Ghanaian economy and then businesses that are out there. When we come back from the break, I'll be engaging some analysts who play in this space and also some businesses as well, as in what is their take and how are things faring. This is the business edition of PM Express. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to the business edition of PM Express and the economy and business. How would the post-COVID-19 economy look like? How would your business look like if things are over and the dust settles? Would they be good, bad, or most of these strong enterprises, businesses and industries will be going down? Well, let's hop onto the line and let's speak to someone who I can call an industrialist, a businessman, and somebody who has actually contributed a lot to this economy. So Tony Otinjesi is Chief Executive of Tropical Cables. So Jesse, I thank you so much for your time for joining us this evening on the business edition of PM Express. Manufacturing, how are you doing right now?
Thank you, George. It is understandably a difficult time for all manufacturers, except maybe those who are in the food and beverage business, who are exempt from the lockdown, and who obviously we all need food and beverage to survive as human beings. So understandably, they are allowed to go on to keep all of us alive. But apart from them, almost every other manufacturer is on lockdown as at now. And we all know the obvious effects of that on not just our operations, but also on the employees, our suppliers, our customers, not so much, because rarely, if the customers are in lockdown, they cannot come out anyway. So most economic activity has kind of ground, not completely to a halt, but to the very basic minimum in many, many decades, you know. So manufacturers are not in a good place at this time.
Mr. Jesse, I thought there was some window of opportunity for some manufacturing firms, and I believe that Tropical Cables could have been captured in that.
Well, we have asked for exemption because of the people we supply, like the utilities and the telecom companies and some of the mines, you know. So we are talking to the authorities to see if for urgent materials, cable manufacturers, for instance, may be given a chance to at least run some skeleton production in order to keep electricity going and to keep some of the other urgent manufacturing and economic activity going, like the mines. I mean, we need the foreign exchange, so the mines are continuing to work. Fortunately, they are all in areas which are not being hit by COVID-19 as yet. So that is the situation as of now.
So Jesse, there's been talk about stimulus package for industries. For you, you play in this space. You have had a bigger picture being a president of AGI and all the rest. How should this package be targeted so that at least we'll have our industry still there post this coronavirus?
If you look at the history of stimulus packages, starting right from the Great Depression in the 1930s in the U.S. To the last major one, the 2008 financial crisis, it was almost basic knowledge that when an economy is in recession or likely to go into recession, these days you try to stop the recession from coming by stimulating the economy. The only caution I would give is that in an economy like ours, a developing country economy, the design of the stimulus package is critical. If you don't design it well, you may end up putting your money in areas where you will not get the required effects from. So even in the U.S., you remember during the 2008 financial crisis, the first stimulus package went through the banks, and it was found out, this was before Bush handed over to Obama, that unfortunately most of the banks just use it to cover their own losses. So when Obama came, they had to design a different stimulus package, which went right directly to industry, the vehicle, the auto manufacturers, the aircraft manufacturers, directly in order to stimulate production. So the design of any stimulus package is critical. It's not just that you are stimulating the economy, but how you are doing it. And that must be in relation to the nature of every country's particular economy, especially as between a developing country like ours and a developed country.
Mr. Jesse, there's always been this argument about whether we should target consumption or should target industry first. And I know you already have an interest. In terms of, again, coming out with these packages, should industry be given a major priority because you employ people, you contribute to the economy, you pay taxes, the whole supply chain? Industry should be given a major priority in developing this stimulus package so that post this COVID-19, you'll still be in existence to employ people and contribute to the economy?
Actually, I think we should be doing both at the same time. I mean, we should spread it. You need to stimulate demand. So you need some money to go into areas which will stimulate demand. But you also, in our case, you need to also stimulate production. And we are in a unique position now. All of a sudden, everybody is talking about local manufacturing, domestic production, and producing things for ourselves. I mean, it's a unique position that we find ourselves in. Look at the situation of these masks which are being made locally. I mean, who would have thought that a situation will arise where we will find out our garment manufacturing companies who have been struggling for a very long time and tell them that, look, make us 2 million masks and we need it immediately, And because they are there, even if they were tottering or they were struggling, at least they are there. And if you get them the right, first of all, the right market, so you've given them an order, and then the right input, they have trained their workers already. So this should teach us a very, very, very big lesson. So to come back to your question, we need to actually go sector by sector. For the garment industry, for instance, we should go beyond just doing the cutting and the stitching and the sewing. Because though they are producing these masks, I am certain that they are bringing it from imported fabric. So somebody, as part of the stimulus package, we should say, let us have some fabric making plants in the country so that you find that the value chain is bigger and more of the money stays within your own borders, So that is one example that we need to look at. And that is why I say you need to go sector by sector and do the detailed analysis, which is something which we haven't been very good at doing. But this is a chance for us to find out really that so we can have the whole garment value chain here. And if you are doing the fabric as well. In garments, we talk about findings, which are the buttons, the zips, the needles, the thread, all those things which go into making the garment. They are all being imported as at now. So we need to complete that value chain, make sure that we are getting all those things done. So that is one part of it. The other part, and I'm just using the garment industry as an example, the other part of it is that then you need to find out who are competing against those making the garments here. And you find out that second-hand clothes dealers and people like that, have the bulk of the market. So you ask yourself, how come? Is it because their products are cheap? Is it possible to have somebody sew a shirt in Ghana which will be as cheap as a second-hand made shirt which has been brought from Europe or America or wherever? And the answer clearly, studies have shown that if you take away the taxes from imports on even the fabric and all, garment manufacturers who are in the free zones have shown that they can make garments which can compete both on quality and on pricing, at least with the second-hand things we bring in. So the question is, do we want to continue bringing the second-hand goods, or you are going to tell the second-hand goods people that, look, I'm going to empower my garment factory, and let even more of them come, and you be their distributor. So we are not throwing you out of work. We are just giving you a different distribution chain. And sit down and do the detailed work for the fabric manufacturing so that they can make the garments, so that these people who deal in it can distribute it at prices which the ordinary Ghanaian can still afford. And that is by giving up some of the taxes on the things that you are bringing in, the inputs and the machinery and things for making it. In the process, you bring up an industry. And what the numbers show really is that if you do that properly, you may find out that the taxes which you give up initially, you will make up for it in the corporate tax that eventually, as they turn profitable, they will make. But in the process, you would have had several 100,000 employees. You would have had a complete value chain in your nation, which is really the way that we should be looking at it. So as far as this is, I think that in economic planning purposes, COVID-19 could actually be an opportunity for us to re-examine our whole approach we want to industrialize. How are we going about it? Will we bite the bullet and take the tough decisions which can get us to actually get manufacturing done and profitably so in our country?
So Tingyesi, I appreciate your time so much, and thank you for those interesting thoughts and proposals. And we hope that this stimulus package will come very soon to support firms like yours and even your members as well and your friends within this industry. Thank you so much for your time. So DeMarco, and we've talked about the economy, and whilst we round up, because we're looking forward to see what the president will see, whether the lockdown will be extended or it would not be extended. Interesting numbers coming up in terms of the cases and all those things. But let's look at the businesses side as well. We're looking at the economy. Will there be an economy post this COVID-19? What about businesses as well? Some are saying that, listen, I'm going down. I'm going to cut down my staff. I don't see life after COVID-19. Are these firms not being that optimistic, or you think that, listen, there will be life for businesses after this crisis?
At least there will be life for business after the crisis. But the fact of the matter is that lots of businesses don't have the liquidity to even pay salaries beyond this month. In the US, they ask businesses that, look, if you can't pay, let your workers apply for what? Unemployment benefit. Yeah. For the first time, over 12 million Americans.
Oh, it's now gotten to 12 million now. I thought it was 6.6 million.
No, not 12, but I think it's gone past the 6 years. So even if here were to allow businesses the opportunity, we even get more people who are working now, but because businesses cannot survive. Because look, some like the hotels.
Yeah.
Mechlin Hotel in Kumasi is fully closed. Some hotels in Accra, they're also closed.
The chief executive of the Ghana Employee Association, I mean, in an interaction with him, said that, listen, we are waiting for the stimulus package because if it doesn't come early, we might be forced to lay off our workers.
Yes, I think that is the stimulus package need to come. And also, I think that there's also things that government can do, use both monetary and fiscal policies. So looking at corporate tax reduction, if government can sacrifice its expectation on
We've not seen that in any of the proposals being put forward in the stimulus package.
No, that's a stimulus package.
Yeah.
So maybe the minister will go to parliament in July or so.
But that is quite, and it comes back to my question about, and sorry for my choice of words, about the seriousness. Let me use that, or the urgency. I know that government plate is quite table, a lot of things on this table, but whilst you're dealing with that, because there are businesses right now that don't even know their fate come next week. Their books are running dry, or their liquidity is running dry. So at least as of now, we've still not found the stimulus package for industries and the hotel sector.
You know, as Dr. Otinjesi was saying, you need to design your stimulus package very well. Else we don't.
That shouldn't take more than a month, I must say.
Well, but when did the minister get approval to spend the money?
I'm not talking about approval to spend, but it's a multifaceted approach in terms of policy-wise. Whilst you're dealing with coming up with this stuff for people, the homeless and all the rest, and it comes back to the approach that he was saying that it should be two at the same time, because industries, don't forget, employ as well. Some of them are saying that we will lay off our workers. I mean, the Ghana Employee Association has said that if we don't get this stimulus package early enough, listen, we cannot even pay our workers April, May, June. So something should have been on the table right now for them even to get that comfort that, listen, something is in place for us. As of now, and I stand to be educated, I don't think that there's anything on the table right now. I stand to be educated again for industries in terms of a stimulus package.
Yes, there's no detail on how much government is going to do, how, and I mean the process that they are going to use. But I'm very confident that very soon, maybe who knows, the president speaks in less than 45 minutes time.
10:30 p.m.
Yes, he's going to tell us something about the stimulus package. But the full details will have to come from the finance minister on how they are going to do that. So the stimulus package is needed to stimulate growth. And also the fiscal policies and the Bank of Ghana has done well. In
terms of the monetary side, some say that the Bank of Ghana has done quite well in doing what they have to do. But on the commercial banks.
Yes,
but there was also been a question about the transmission mechanism and the time that it would take for businesses to realize this. Monetary policy has gone down. They've reduced lending rates, but sometimes it takes quite long.
It takes a long time for business to be able to even uptake some of these loans, because at this crisis, you don't know if you go and get a loan, it starts counting the very first month you take the loan. So lots of businesses will still want to stay away from taking loans. And even the UK, with all the quantitative easing that the Chancellor of Exchequer announced, business are so scared in terms of taking loan around this time when no demand for goods and services have gone down.
It's very low.
So I think in the short term, government, the finance minister needs to come and go to parliament and say, look, corporate tax is going to go down. PAYE, you are going to lower it, so that that alone can also stimulate consumption. Because look, if PAYE rate goes down, what it means is that my take-home pay is going to increase, and I'm going to spend more, and that is going to have what impact on aggregate demand.
And sorry to catch you, but I know on record I could say that the Ghana Revenue Authority, the commissioner, has something in the works for us.
That is not the work of they are implementers. To be able to change it, has to
in terms of penalties, in terms of payment of certain things.
Yes,
there's something in the works for us.
No, but I'm talking about the rate in which we pay
itself being reduced.
That's
a policy decision.
That's a policy decision. Not even it has to go to policy.
Yeah, policy then goes to parliament.
Yes. So we need to get that. I think that is the first thing that the government has to do, at least, so that those who cannot even get the stimulus package, they know that at least their quarterly, their annual corporate interest, corporate tax is going to go down, and based upon that, they are also going to spend the money. Look, private sector is the engine of growth. And for me, I believe that we need to do everything under the sun to keep the Ghanaian private sector afloat so that they can take care of us, they can be able to create jobs for us. Because if you look at the job distribution in this country, private sector, we are doing more than even the government is doing. Do you get it? So it's very important that the government does everything to help the private sector. I believe that it's very good for government to even to suffer a huge
in revenue,
which will increase our debt to GDP, fiscal deficit. Now the minister has gone to Parliament to ask for from 5% to 10%, which is good. Even if it has to go to 14%, for us to be able to spend and heal the wounds of the economy, so that by next year or so, we'll be able to take our new garment. That will be better for us.
We spoke to Marcus Sibeyebua. He's chair of Parliament Finance Committee. In terms of, again, as you look at post-COVID-19 and the economy picking up, he was given a projection that it would take about 2 years for us to fully recover and stabilize things. What's your projection?
I think our recovery is also a function of how the global economy performs. Yeah. Because if the global economy...
But what are you projecting? Are you also in sync with him for that 2 years? Or
I think 2 years is the best for us. I think the earliest we can be is 1 year. And then the maximum it can take us will be but that again is also subjected to things that we don't know. Do you get it? Because for
all other things being equal.
All other things being equal, as the economists will say, by 2 years, by 2022, I think that by that time the economy will be able to come back again. Let me say this: there's a good news is that once the vaccine for the virus is found, all the
that will not be now.
No, hold on. All the
that might not be now.
Oh, it's possible because there has been a lot of trials going all over the world. Once they find the vaccine, what it means is that all the plans that the businesses have, those who want to put up a new skyscrapers, going for holidays, everybody, all the weddings that have been stored, all the funerals in Kumasi that have all been stored, all of those funerals will resurrect, and then that kind of spending alone is going to create, is going to
turn around the economy. Because one U.S. president said, and I've forgotten his name, could it be Bush, that the best time to go into an economy is when they have actually gotten out of war. That's what he said. So that's when the economy is being rebuilt, and therefore there's a lot of opportunities for you. But whilst you talk about government stimulus package and all the rest, again, for the businesses themselves, what should be the strategy going forward? Yeah, the stimulus package might come, it may not come, but what should you be doing as a business to ensure that post-COVID-19 you survive this storm and still be in business?
I think one thing we've known, most of our business we have in this country,
industries as well,
and businesses, let me start with the SMEs, they are largely informal and they don't even keep proper books, and even they don't even have strategies. For them, they always believe that the sun will shine every day so that they can open their house. Force majeure. They don't believe it. So this is the time that businesses have to start employing experts to help them to be able to strategize.
But where's the money? I don't have the money to employ someone like you as a consultant to turn my business around. The money is not there.
No.
My mom would say the there is not there.
The there is not there, but then we need to have a rethink that, look, if you're a business, if you don't plan well and budget, you must even have your own stress test at what kind of pressure and stress that can tear you down, so that based upon that you cannot increase your resilience. Because as of now, most businesses cannot even survive 2 weeks of work.
Mr. Adomako, time is not on our side. In just a minute and wrapping up again, what will be your final advice to those small firms out there so that there will be a future for them?
I think one thing that they have to do is that as soon as the lockdown is lifted, they have to start operating, and they have to start doing things differently. And let's hope that let's hope that the government bailout to also reach out to those cocoa and house and wache sellers in Adabraka, where I like my favorite wache and Telima. Yes.
Okay.
So I think that government should not allow those. Let's find a way so that everybody, the bottom of the pyramid people, can also get part of the stimulus package.
I think we go to the same place for our favorite wache in Adabraka, of course. Well, all too soon we have to draw the curtain down on the business edition of PM Express. The economy and business. What will be the face of the economy post-COVID-19? Would it be going down? The finance minister has projected a 1.5% economic growth rate for the country. Would it be worse than that? And in very few minutes, the president will be addressing the country on the status of this whole lockdown exercise and what measures they put in place. I'll be watching, and I hope you also be catching a watch of that. Well, all too soon we have to draw the curtain down. It has been the business edition of PM Express. You, my guest in studio, Mr. Dumako. He's with Cat International, a consultant and analyst, and also for all those who we spoke to them on Skype and on the line as well. I hope you enjoyed the show. Have a great day, and we'll be back again with another exciting edition of PM edition, or business edition of PM Express. My name is George Jaffe. All the best.